Brandon West, an American recently left by his fiancée, showed kindness to a homeless woman and her child by giving them a place to stay for the night. Little did he realize that this act would change his life forever. Brandon, looking sharp as he entered the hospital, couldn't hide his inner turmoil. His brow furrowed in worry as he walked alongside his wife, Sarah, whose expression mirrored his seriousness. When the doctor called Brandon in, he hesitated, hoping for Sarah's reassurance, only to find her engrossed in her phone and insisting she would wait outside. Left alone, Brandon stepped into the office, emerging 20 minutes later, shocked by the news. He longed for comfort. "Are we done? Can we go?" Sarah's sharp voice pierced the silence. Brandon nodded silently, and they left, the tension between them palpable. Lost in his despair, Brandon walked mechanically, barely noticing his surroundings. Sarah remained silent, her fingers busy on her phone screen. They stepped into a charming diner, where Brandon walked out with sandwiches and a juice bottle in hand. Seeing a woman cradling a baby, he made his way over with a warm smile. "Here you are, hope this brightens your day," he said, handing over the food. Initially puzzled and wary, the woman accepted the gesture gratefully, realizing he was just being kind. However, at that serene moment, Sarah blasted the car horn, yelling out of the window, "Let's go, Brandon. This isn't the time for charity." The woman lowered her head, thanking him once more for the food, her voice barely audible. Brandon hopped into the car, the engine remaining quiet. "What was that about, Brandon? Associating with those people? Are you trying to embarrass me?" Sarah accused, her irritation palpable. Brandon defended himself, explaining he was merely aiding someone in need, but Sarah retorted, criticizing his heroic demeanor and claiming it did nothing to better their own situation. "Don't you have bigger concerns?" she concluded sharply. Brandon fell silent, his expression shutting down. Later that night, with Sarah asleep beside him, Brandon sat on the edge of the bed, wrestling with a surge of emotions. It felt as though his deepest desire to become a father was slipping away. He rose quietly, exiting the room and halting before a closed door. Summoning courage, he pushed it open, tears streaming down his face. The nursery was adorned with such care, clearly showing the love and effort poured into it. Brandon slumped in the armchair, the room cloaked in darkness, and drifted into an unintended sleep. Days later, Brandon and Sarah returned to the hospital for the outcome of Brandon's latest tests. As usual, Sarah declined to join him, leaving Brandon to enter the office alone. Seated, he absorbed the doctor's findings. "I regret to inform you," the doctor's somber tone pierced the silence. "Both the spermogram and DNA test results are conclusive. You are infertile, and biological children are not an option." The words hit Brandon like a ton of bricks. Wordlessly, he exited the office, weighed down by the crushing news. Sarah, sensing his anguish, asked no questions. Back home, seeking solace in Sarah's embrace, he found only simmering anger. "Brandon, you know being a mother has always been my deepest desire. If we can't have a child, I don't see how I can find happiness." "It just doesn't seem fair," Sarah expressed, her voice trembling. Brandon countered, insisting his infertility was beyond his control, feeling as crushed by the situation as she did. "If it's not your fault, then whose is it? I'm perfectly capable of conceiving." Sarah retorted, her words piercing Brandon deeply. Stunned, Brandon found himself at a loss for words. Sarah's accusation shattered any semblance of their argument. As she packed her belongings, Brandon felt wounded and utterly alone, watching in silence. "I'm going to stay at my dad's for a while. Someone will collect the rest of my things soon," Sarah announced, closing the door behind her. Consumed by emotion, Brandon reached for a bottle of wine from the shelf. Though he had long abandoned alcohol, in that moment, he craved nothing more than to numb the pain. After gulping down 2 glasses in quick succession, Brandon felt a haze descending upon him. Crushed by his wife's abandonment and the weight of his troubles, he staggered out of the house, seeking solace. He drowned his sorrows in dimly lit bars until intoxication enveloped him. Beneath the frigid night sky, Brandon trudged slowly towards a bridge, leaning against its railings. He was engulfed in memories of happier times with Sarah, especially when they joyfully prepared the nursery for their anticipated baby. But now those cherished moments had turned into haunting reminders. His heart was consumed by a rising tide of despair. Hindered by the alcohol coursing through his veins, Brandon resembled more of a specter than a man. A cacophony of voices assailed his mind, yet amidst the chaos, one voice pierced through, the doctor's somber declaration echoing, "You're infertile, incapable of bearing children." Lost in a haze of alcohol and anguish, Brandon mimicked the doctor's gestures with a melancholic twist. He inched closer to the bridge's edge, feeling the chill wind against his face, a stark reminder of crossing safety boundaries. What's the point of having a lavish 3-story house, a car, and a hefty bank account if there is no one to share it with? As he hovered on the brink, peering down at the murky waters below, he took a final swig from his bottle. Just then, a distant voice broke his reverie. "Hey, buddy." Initially dismissing it as a mirage, Brandon strained his eyes and recognized a woman with a baby mere meters away. She was familiar, the same woman he glimpsed leaving the hospital. Fueled by intoxication, he blurted out, "I remember you." The baby's cry pierced the air, jolting Brandon as if awakening him from a stupor. Stepping back from the edge, he inquired softly, "Why is she crying? Did I frighten her?" In a hushed tone, the woman responded, "If I don't eat, how can I feed her?" Hearing this, Brandon squirmed. While he was on the verge of giving up, there were others persevering, unaware of how to even provide for their kids. "Come on, let's grab something for you to eat," Brandon mumbled, feeling awkward. The woman eyed Brandon suspiciously but didn't turn down the offer. They headed to a nearby store. The gentle sway of her mother's walk lulled the baby in her arms. Amidst the aisles, the woman introduced herself as Clara, cradling her daughter, Hilda. Brandon inquired if she was raising her child alone on the streets. Clara revealed she had been deserted by her boyfriend upon discovering her pregnancy. Having grown up in an orphanage, she lost both her partner and home in one fell swoop. Clara scraped by with rent for a few months until eviction struck. Brandon grimaced at the tale, struck by its personal resonance. "I can't fathom abandoning the mother of your own child," he muttered, expressing his dismay. "This is just not right." It had been a fortnight since Clara and her daughter had been without a home. Despite their hardship, Clara remained poised, eloquent, and sharp-witted. Reluctant to accept assistance from a stranger, the young mother carefully selected discounted goods from the shelves. Brandon reassured her, urging her not to fret over prices but to opt for the best quality. Clara, visibly relieved, flashed a gentle smile, replying, "I'll handle your money with care as if it were my own. I'll stick with the discounted items, they're perfectly fine." Taken aback, Brandon simply nodded in response. Exiting the store, he suggested, "Hey, I live solo now. Got a spare room at home, you and your daughter could crash there tonight." Clara instantly grew wary, handing back the bag of items she'd received. "Thanks, but no thanks. I'll keep moving forward on my own." "Catch you later," she said. Brandon empathized with Clara's caution, acknowledging, "I get it, you're wary, and rightly so. I'm just a stranger, but I promise no hidden agendas. Today, my wife walked out on me, and I nearly made a big mistake in a moment of weakness. You and your daughter might have saved me from that, and I'll always owe you for it. I'm a good person, and I just want to give back." At that moment, the baby in Clara's arms smiled at Brandon, making a cute sound and then bursting into laughter. Baby Hilda was having fun watching Brandon's expressions. That laughter from the baby made Clara relax a bit. She remembered the day she received the sandwich and juice from that same man and how the woman in the car had shouted at him. "Well, just eat and take a shower, and then we'll leave, okay?" Clara said. Brandon smiled and replied, "Sure deal." The three of them went to Brandon's house, and upon arriving at the place, Clara was wide-eyed. It wasn't a luxurious mansion, but it was more than the woman had ever had. Brandon led her to the living room and put the groceries on the table, excusing himself to leave the room. When he returned, he handed Clara some outfits. Got these for my ex, but she wasn't into them. They're up for grabs if you like. I also got these tiny clothes for your little one, he gestured towards the door. Make yourselves comfy, I'll whip up something quick for dinner. Clara gathered her daughter and headed to the suite. Stepping in, she noticed it was fully set for a baby, puzzling her. After bathing and nursing Hilda to sleep, Brandon had dinner ready and was taken aback when Clara reappeared with Hilda cradled in her arms. The woman he had seen on the street moments ago seemed entirely different now. Clara gently placed Hilda on the couch in the living room and took a seat at the table. The young mother eagerly ate her meal, and Brandon watched her with tenderness, understanding her challenges. Beside her, Hilda rested comfortably and safely for the first time in weeks. In that instant, a new feeling stirred within Brandon, providing him with a sense of reassurance and warmth. He was, even if only in his mind, experiencing the feeling of being part of a loving family. Deciding to steer clear of delving into Clara's past or broaching any uncomfortable subjects, he got the gist of it. Clara and Hilda depended solely on him for support. Got any kids? Clara started a conversation. Brandon hesitated before responding, his voice trembling as he revealed his inability to have children despite his fervent desire to become a father. I was convinced I'd be a dad soon. I decked out the nursery, prepared everything, even dreamed about it, but my dream turned into a nightmare after numerous failed attempts with my ex-wife, he shared, still shaky. Sensing Brandon's emotional vulnerability, Clara promptly apologized for touching on such a sensitive topic, and Brandon reassured her. No worries, Clara. If anything, I should be sorry. I've never been this exposed before. I felt like I was sinking into darkness. If it weren't for you, he trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. Clara gently laid her hand on his. It's all good now. We all have our dark sides, but we must have faith in ourselves and recognize when help is extended. That's why I accepted your invitation, Clara affirmed. Brandon experienced a rare moment of deep understanding unlike any he had felt in a while. Surprisingly, it didn't come from his partner of many years, but from a stranger he had met on the street just days ago. After dinner, Clara lifted Hilda from the couch, and Brandon suggested they sleep in the baby's room. This time, Clara didn't hesitate. She carefully placed Hilda in the crib, noticing the room's cozy decorations and every loving detail. Tears filled her eyes as she watched her daughter sleep soundly under the gentle glow of the bedside lamp. Suddenly, Brandon appeared in the doorway, his smile warm and genuine, bidding them both a good night before quietly slipping away. In that moment, Clara couldn't help but picture Brandon passing by the room each day, knowing he would never hear the laughter of a child within those walls. The following morning, Clara woke to the gentle nudges of Chips, another inhabitant of Brandon's household. Chips, fond of Clara and her daughter, greeted her by rubbing against her leg, purring contentedly and playfully tapping her ankle with his paw. Good morning, Clara, she exclaimed, offering affectionate scratches behind the cat's ear. Brandon, already up and about, swiftly prepared a breakfast spread of coffee, toast, eggs, and assorted fruits. Mid-meal, Brandon's phone alarm startled him, a reminder of an urgent business trip he had nearly forgotten amidst the recent chaos and the previous night's worry. Urgently, Brandon informed Clara of his impending departure, reassuring her that she could stay without inconvenience. Clara hesitated, prompting Brandon to insist, "We must learn to accept assistance, mustn't we? There's no point in you and Hilda sleeping on the streets when this apartment will be vacant. And who will care for Chips in my absence?" Brandon concluded with a convincing smile. After a moment of contemplation, Clara gave her consent, bringing a sigh of relief to Brandon. Before departing, Clara quickly made a sandwich for him, expressing her eagerness for his return in a shy manner. As Brandon bid farewell at the door, he couldn't shake the feeling of missing Clara and Hilda. "I'll come back as soon as possible. Please wait for me," he earnestly told her. "I feel something truly special and genuine between us." Clara nodded in agreement as Brandon took his leave. Over the following weeks, Brandon and Clara connected daily through video calls, filled with laughter and deep conversations. Clara also introduced Brandon to her daughter, Hilda. Their bond strengthened each passing day despite Sarah's divorce request. Brandon found more joy in conversing with Clara than he ever did with his ex-wife. Returning from his journey, Brandon held a bouquet of fresh white roses as he arrived home. The time away had brought clarity, unveiling his genuine desires. Filled with newfound confidence, he turned to Clara and posed the question, "Could you see yourself as my girlfriend?" Overwhelmed with emotion, he poured his heart out to Clara, who reciprocated, sealing their newfound love with a kiss. As their bond deepened over time, one evening, Brandon tenderly carried Hilda as they exited a restaurant. Unexpectedly, they encountered his ex-wife Sarah at the entrance, her astonishment palpable. "Brandon, is that really you? And who is this little one?" Sarah stammered. Unfazed, Brandon headed to his car, gently explaining, "Apologies, my daughter needs her rest. Good night." With a tender grasp on Brandon's waist, Clara joined him. Tears restrained, she affirmed her daughter's newfound father. As Clara and Brandon exchanged vows, their hearts intertwined at the altar. Brandon's friends and acquaintances marveled at this unforeseen and beautiful union, offering genuine wishes for the couple's joy. Side by side, Clara and Brandon led their daughter to the car, the engine humming to life as Brandon guided them toward a future filled with love and obstacles, embodying the role of the father and husband he had always imagined.